We are doing a special transmission on the developing situation in Afghanistan, and according to the latest information that we have reached, negotiations are ongoing in the Afghan presidential palace, and the Afghan government is ready to resign and hand over power to the Taliban. Now, we have been joined by the Federal Minister, Mr. Fawad Chaudhry. Now, thank you very much, sir. And I'm sure you must be keeping a key eye on the situation right now, which is happening and developing in Kabul. How do you see Pakistan's response to this, first of all?
Well, it's an evolving situation, and we are keeping an eye on it. We are actually very worried about the developments in Afghanistan, and actually had, the government in Kabul had listened to Prime Minister's proposal before Afghan elections, where he suggested that instead of holding elections, we should work on inclusive government in Kabul. Things would have been different today, but unfortunately, President Ghani ignored the very, I would say, appropriate and sane advice of Prime Minister of Pakistan, and now the situation is certainly not in his control. And but we are, keeping very close eye on this evolving situation, and we are trying to help journalists working in Afghanistan to evacuate. We are providing them the visa facilities. We also, and trying to help out the other foreigners who are in Afghanistan. But frankly, it's the situation is very fragile, and we really need to wait till this settles down in Kabul.
Right, so also I love your comment on this. Obviously, there is a major stakeholder in Afghanistan who's invested a lot, and it comes to be our neighbor. And till date, we haven't really heard any comment from our neighbor coming on this situation developing in Afghanistan, sir.
Sorry, say it again?
So I'm talking about the shyness of India on the situation in Afghanistan, the developing situation in Afghanistan right now.
Yeah, India is, I don't know, India is not even a player in Afghanistan. They just, use Afghanistan to establish their bases in Afghanistan for terrorism in Pakistan. This is the only kind of relationship India has with Afghanistan. There is no other real interest of India in Afghanistan, and we don't consider India even a player in Afghanistan situation. Right now, the media is literally crying on the situation in Afghanistan. But I think if the sanity prevails in India, they should stay away from Afghanistan. This is not their job. This is not their concern. And nor India has any shared border with Afghanistan. Pakistan obviously shares about 2,700 kilometers long border. We share religious beliefs. We share families, tribes, culture, family systems. So we have totally different connections, totally different framework with Afghanistan. India has no such thing, and India is in the past has actually just tried to use Afghanistan land for their nefarious activities in Pakistan, and this is the only thing they just want to destabilize Afghanistan so they can have their say in on this border area. But I think that time is over. But right now we're more concerned about the situation in Kabul, and we hope that we will be able to. We are right now in touch with all the groups. We are right in touch with USA also. We are talking to other players like Turkey, and we are moving for a negotiated settlement. The Prime Minister Imran Khan has, made it clear various times in his various statements that we want a negotiated settlement, and we are actually looking forward to that.
Right, so the sources are saying that the negotiations are ongoing in the Afghan presidential palace. Now, for imagination, let's say if the situation worsens and that gives a rise to internally displaced people, and obviously if there is a civil war that erupts after, obviously, the Kabul government denies Taliban's peace negotiations offer, how do you see Afghanistan's internally displaced personnel reaching out to Pakistan?
Well, that's a huge concern for us. As you know, Pakistan is already hosting about 3.5 million Afghan refugees, and if there will be exodus and there will be more people on Pakistan, our economy is not really strong enough to, bear the burden of so many people on our own. And this is a responsibility of international community right now, that they must come forward and, so that we could make some framework on this refugee crisis. But our first concern is if we can avoid any bloodshed in Afghanistan, and we would like to extend our all, whatever we can do to achieve peace in Afghanistan, we will do that.
Right, so also please shed light on this situation which is right now going on as Russia is working with other countries to hold an emergency United Nations Security Council meeting on Afghanistan. What can we expect from the UNSC?
Well, right now India is heading UNSC, and unfortunately their role is more of a spoiler than anything else. So I believe that regional solution we should be looking at, and the regional solution will be the real solution. And I think, but let's see what UNSC also come up with. But really, I believe that it's the regional solution that will be a long-term thing for Afghanistan.
Right, so I'm sure Pakistan must have a very keen eye on the developing situation in Afghanistan. And as per the sources say, the Afghan government, according to USS Academic, has offered an non-Taliban member to head the interim government. Do you think that is going to be a possibility?
And I cannot comment on that right now because I don't have any direct information in this regard. But as I said, we will do all we can to achieve stability in Afghanistan.
Right, so also if you would just highlight, obviously, in a better way and more clarity at the meeting of the United Nations Security Council, and obviously when the Taliban do take over the government in Kabul, obviously they will need international recognition. So how do you see that panning out for the Taliban?
Well, that depends on the negotiations for new government in the Kabul and how they conclude. So let's wait for that, and let's not, jump on the conclusion. So, leave, as I said, it's an evolving situation, and we have to wait for that.
Right, so thank you very much for talking to Indus News, and I'm sure you'll be having a keen eye on the developing Afghan situation.